Ryan Jarrell here for Fight Bananas, and my next guest will be back in action on November the 9th when he takes on Kai Stewart for the BKFC featherweight strap. And of course, is Jimmie Rivera on the show. Jimmy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you again. I did see that you posted on your Instagram not too long ago. The family went out for Halloween last night. So how was that like? Did you guys get all the fun out of the way?
I think my kids, especially my oldest, had more fun giving out candy than actually getting candy. I'm not gonna lie to you. We went trick or treating. They were sharks because it was the easiest costume that they would wear for majority of the time. That wasn't all over their face or anything like that. We're slowly baby steps. Then we went to our babysitter's block and went to her house, and we just kind of hung out and sat down, took a break. I started giving out candy, helping out, and then my oldest just came in and just kept doing the same thing, and she was having a blast with it.
That's awesome, man. What is your favorite holiday to celebrate with your family?
I mean, I just like spending time with my family in general, but I guess it would be have to be like Christmas because it's cool. Like we open up new toys. They're at a new era of their life where we could start, you know, building basically open up new toys. We're building stuff for them and they're playing with it, and there's just that joy. And then obviously looking in the future when they get older, start getting like board games, other things, maybe Legos or something like that. It's just cool you could share those moments with your kids, and as the years go on, how the toys change and how you could kind of relate more and more to them with different toys, different games, different stuff they want.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. My wife and I are hoping to have our first child at some point soon, so I hope to experience all that joy at some point down the line.
Congrats.
Thank you, brother. As far as like your schedule goes, man, I know you're super busy. Obviously, you're working as a police officer, you're fighting for the title here, you got your family. Like, what is the schedule like for you day to day?
I mean, when it's fight camp, it's rough because I'm basically kind of doing three jobs between training, fighting, training, being a police officer, and running the school. And then actually, if you want to count as a fourth job, taking care of kids when I can.
Yeah.
So it's rough, man. It's just one of those things that I have really good people around me, a very understanding wife, and I'm just able to get everything done. And I just go about it and put my head down and grind.
How is your sleep when you hit the pillow at night? Do you just crash right out?
Yeah, there's some wind down time. So I get home, wind down a little bit, get some stuff done around the house to help my wife out, dishes, stuff like that, clothes, whatever. And then from there, I try to lay down and get like an hour of like just wind down time. And then, no later 11, 12 o'clock sleeping. Last night, actually, I went to bed at 10 o'clock. And let me tell you, it felt great. I did not sleep that well because the night before I ended up sleeping with my daughter. And this fight camp, it's kind of my one daughter, like, she's like a Jedi or something. When I get up out of bed, she just pops up like the Exorcist or something like that. Looks at me like, "Where are you going?" So we laugh about it. So one of us always has to end up sleeping with her. Excuse me. My other one's good in the crib still. So Wednesday night was a little bit rough, and then last night I literally went right to bed at 10 o'clock, and let me tell you, it was great.
Yeah, I could just imagine. How does your body feel now? Obviously, camp is winding down, but you're not having to train every single discipline like you did when you were in the UFC, right? So, do you just kind of feel rejuvenated a little bit now that you're in this stage of your career fighting for BKFC?
Yeah, like it's like you said, it's only 1 art form we're working on, so it doesn't take that big of a toll on my body. I think the biggest toll it takes on your body in the martial arts world, fighting world, if you're doing MMA, is wrestling. I think wrestling is probably the biggest toll that it takes on your body. I don't even think kickboxing, grappling, and all that. Even doing MMA grappling, I think wrestling is probably the what takes the biggest toll on your body. Fighting.
It must be nice too to be fighting at 45, having to carry that extra 10 pounds around. How heavy are you getting nowadays?
Um, you know what? I'm not that far from weight from 45 right now. I'm like in really good shape for this fight. Um, I I guess the heaviest I get 65, 165, 170 around. I mean 170 if I'm being really fat. 165 in decent shape, and then fight shape. I get a little bit below 160, but with this fight, I really push the pace, and I'm even lighter than I kind of that I wanted to be. But on the other hand, it's going to be a lot easier when I make weight. So either or.
Must be nice too that this fight is before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving. I thought the fight was going to be in December in Philly. Then they moved the Philly card, and then I guess Kai's worked some magic for Montana. So now this fight's in Montana. It is nice though. Like I'm like shit, I got less time to train. But on the flip side of it, I'm like, all right, well, fight's gonna come quicker. I'm not gonna spend that much time away from my kids. I'm not missing Thanksgiving or Christmas. That's always a plus. But then again, some people ask me, hey, what if you want to fight in Philly? If you're good enough, would you fight in Philly? I'm like, I wouldn't say no to fight in Philly. That'd be awesome. That's almost my backyard. You know what I
Right.
mean? Obviously, ideally, backyard would be The Rock or Atlantic City or even MSG or New York, anywhere in New York City.
Well, maybe after you win this belt, you can defend it somewhere close to home next. As far as this camp, Jimmy, like, have you had anyone new or specific that can kind of mimic Kai?
I don't have anybody that really is not good at boxing, so it was really tough to do that. Um, I trained mainly with Julio Arce the whole fight camp. The last couple spar sessions, we switched it up a little bit. I went with two of the amateur guys that are not similar to Kai, just give a different look. But Julio was primarily my main training partner, which Julio. He's got number one takedown defense UFC. He's an unbelievable MMA fighter. He's a Golden Glove boxer. The guy is, he's a little younger than me, only by a couple months, and the guy's just in unbelievable shape. So it was really good working with him and him pushing me and get into you know, different levels of being in shape. So all in all, the fight camp, today was actually my last hard day of sparring and all that. Got one more hard day tomorrow, and then that's pretty much just kind of recover and then weight cut and fight.
Yeah, it's almost here, November 9th. Can't wait for it, man. As far as your venture here into bare knuckle, how do you feel it's gone so far? Obviously, you had the big win over Strauss. Prior to that, the Stevens loss. I know you were winning that fight right up until the cut happened. But like, just tell me your thoughts, like how you feel everything has been going for you so far.
It's going really well. I mean, ideally in my head, I would love, win the belt and then be able to advocate for Jersey, sit down with the commission and try to get my first title of defense in New Jersey. I think Philly's like the first step in the tri-state area. You got New York, Philly, and Jersey. So if they're going along those lines and the show goes well, I could see there's, bare knuckle coming to Jersey next. It's all about, in different states, there's different regulations they have for them. Um, Going into bare knuckle was just good. My first fight against Howard Davis, just to get in there. I boxed a boxer, and again, his hometown is Florida. I thought I won the fight by a round, but that's not what they gave it. They gave it a draw. It was good. He was a cool dude. We spoke a lot after the fight. Got to talk to him and Duran afterwards. It was interesting conversation we had. And then going from there, I fought a couple other people. Stevens, going over the losses between, the draw with Howard and then the loss with Stevens at 55. I mean, I gave up a lot for 55. So, but it was ideally, Jeremy Stevens, who's a name, who brings a resume, an unbelievable resume. And on top of that, was on a big card with Eddie Alvarez and Mike Perry. So it sucked having the doctor stop it. I'd rather go out my shield, whether I lose by decision or lose, by a knockout. I'd rather not have a doctor come in and say, "Oh, you can't fight." It's just an eyebrow. You don't fucking
Yeah.
need it. I'm married already, got kids, didn't need it. So, but with the wins, it went well. Strauss is, he's a tough man. He's like a zombie walking in, and people don't realize how good, how good he is because was the Bellator champ at 45, and I think his personal life didn't get involved and fucked up his training, I think he would have been a UFC champ, to be honest with you, or been a Bellator champ still. He was an unbelievable athlete. Going to fight the Russian kid, I don't even know his name. Oh, I found out afterwards he had like 100 Muay Thai fights. Dude was tough, man. It's just you fight those Russians or Dagestan kind of people that you get him with the kitchen sink, just laugh and just keep coming forward. So dude, tough as that fuck. So it's good, man. It's really good just to be a part of them, help them grow, and I think they're they're not competing with the UFC. It's not the same combat sport, but I think in the boxing world, and I think in general with promotions, they're probably one of the biggest promotions along the line with the UFC, and it's fun to be a part of it and help them grow.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Do you hope to maybe run it back with Stevens, or are you not really thinking about that?
Yeah, if he wants to go 145 though, fuck
Mhm.
55. I did that the one and done for he was a big boy. Even like that was probably been the roughest throughout the whole fight camp, the whole fighting in general. I've only got to fight at 45 twice. My last two fights, Stevens at 55. Again, I took the fight, but then Strauss was supposed to be at 45, and that was at 50 at a catch weight. I actually gave him 5 pounds. I gave him 150 plus a pound because he was said it was short notice. I'm like, dude, you're getting the same amount of time that I'm getting. If I can make it, you can make it, kind of thing. So that just shows you how big Strauss was too. You know what I mean? And Steven said no to 45, so I couldn't like say I had to give or take.
Mhm.
Make a little more money and fight someone that's well known name on a big card. And the con side was giving up, extra 10 pounds. I literally that fight, I cut a pound in the salt bath, and I was already on
Wow.
weight.
Yeah.
So like nothing. Yeah, it was nothing. I was in shape. I was on weight. That was a rough fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a rough in general. Just going back to it, thinking about it, going to Salt Lake City. I got out there a little early, thinking the elevation would bother me, but it didn't bother me at all. What killed me was I was sick before the fight. My kids got sick. I got sick. Then I got better. Then I got sick again. I got better. Got sick again. When I went out there, I was still sick. So it was a little rough with that fight. Besides that, the training camp went well. Besides being sick.
Must have really affected your cardio the most, huh?
I did feel it. I did feel it with that fight. I definitely did feel it. Um, and I think, could have been one of those things, if I could have, would have, should have kind of thing where, if I wasn't so bad, maybe I wouldn't got caught with that uppercut. But he hit a nice uppercut. Again, he was fucking enjoying life because he knew I was winning and he didn't see a win out of this. I mean, Stevens is not a good boxer. He's not. He's just a tough motherfucker. That's
Right.
what it is. And,
Okay.
bite down your mouthpiece and go at it. But it's the way what happens, man.
Yeah. It's the fight game. Uh,
Exactly.
I have to imagine it must be pretty motivating seeing a fellow UFC veteran like yourself and Chris Camozzi go and win the title recently. Does that give you added motivation to go in there and do the exact same thing?
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, I don't. I just added motivation. Always goal was always getting the bare knuckle and then fight for the belt. Now I'm at that. I'm right at the gate. Now I just gotta go Saturday, next Saturday, November 9th, and do my thing.
What would it mean to you? Would this obviously winning a title, especially in a prestigious organization like this, that would have to be the most important thing you've ever done in your combat sports career? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, on a big promotion, I've won 3 belts on smaller promotions like King of the Cage, CFFC, and ROC, which the next step is big promotions, and I think bare knuckles one of the biggest promotions out there, along with the UFC. So I think winning that belt is an unbelievable achievement, and being able to take it home to my family and my team and Tiger Showman's is obviously a great accomplishment.
Yeah, no doubt, man. The Connor effect and what that brings to BKFC. Obviously, it's enormous. I mean, can you just kind of talk about that a little bit and just what his cachet and the name of Conor McGregor does for this promotion, what it's going to do moving forward?
I mean, it's already done it. It's bringing more views to this promotion. He's a well-known person. He has a very persona to him, so it's really bringing that attribute to the game. Once he's done with his UFC contract, he will fight in bare knuckle. I guarantee you. Guarantee you, will go in there and he'll do one fight. You know what I mean? At least one, maybe even more than that. And on top of that, just his publicity. I think he's showing up and enjoying it even more. And I think after the first one or two of them, he's even enjoying it more, where he's showing up even more to fights, going out there and support, bringing those viewers in, bringing different sponsorships to the organization as well. It's just basically another, making it's making contacts, and it's making another business partner right there where you could do even more with the sport.
If you were the BKFC matchmaker and you could pick anybody in the world to fight Conor McGregor in his BKFC debut, who would it be?
I let him pick whoever the fuck he wants to pick. I don't. I mean, you get a Conor McGregor fight in the promotion. If you're anything, Conor McGregor comes in like, fuck it, let's go, let's set up a belt. Let's do the BMF belt they did, or oh no, uh, most violent belt they did with Mike Perry. What was it, most violent? What was the name of it? Fuck.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And but I would, if I was a matchmaker, that I would do more along the lines of weight rise that makes more sense. I would do like 165.
Mm.
So if Mike Perry could, drop down that would be ideal. It's a win for Mike Perry and win for, uh,
Connor.
what I mean, as well. And you get these two big names, huge names, or have Connor fight one fight and then set that fight up next.
Who do you think would win that fight?
I love Perry. I'm a Perry fan. On and depending on the weight class, that's where it goes. You saw Perry with Eddie, and Eddie was winning the fight. Perry's just a tough son of a bitch, and this sport was made for him. So, the fact that he went in there and in the second or third round broke Eddie Alvarez's orbital, and he was already fucked up. Mike was just goes along lines that this sport is literally fucking made for him. Depending on weight, if it's a lighter weight, I got Connor. If it's a heavier weight, I got Perry.
I'd love to see it. I hope BKFC can make that happen. And Jimmie, you're only 35 years old, man. Are you still in your prime? Like, are your best years still ahead of you?
No fucking idea. I feel good though. I have no idea, but I feel good. I
Okay.
don't know what 30 is going to take me. 37. I don't know, but I feel good right now and I'm enjoying it.
I love the answer. All right. So BKFC on DAZN, November the 9th. Kai Stewart, you already talked a little bit about him earlier, basically saying, he's not that great of a boxer. Do you think that you're just going to kind of outclass him wherever this fight goes?
Yeah, I mean, you look at his resume and you look at my resume. It's a totally two different resumes, experience wise, and who I fought caliber fighters. He's saying he went out there and he beat Howard. I'm like, yeah, you beat Howard wrestling. You didn't beat Howard boxing. You know what I mean? Every boxer that he's fought, he kind of out wrestled them and did that grind to them. Grind game, you want to say, that kind of wall wrestling, wear and tear. He's never fought someone like my caliber who could box and who could also wrestle. So it's a tough fight for him. And he knows that. Some of the words he exchanged when we did our face off, he knows that this is the toughest fight of his career. I think he's tough. I think he's got a great gas tank, you know what I mean? But I think the caliber of where he's at, where I'm at, is a little bit different.
And he's got a lot of decisions too. So, I mean, if he does, fight his perfect fight, I think as far as he's concerned, maybe like he would beat you via decision. Can you imagine him finishing you, or do you think that's just out of the question completely?
Uh no, I could see him throwing some. I don't see him finishing me, but I could see him throwing some random shots. I'm like, where the fuck did that cover? Because he's just so unorthodox in a way. You know what I mean? He's all over the place. He drops his hands. He does some weird, funky stuff. It kind of reminds me when I fought Aljamain Sterling, because Aljamain Sterling's the way, like, guy can't fucking strike, but it's just weird on his fucking what he does striking. You know what I mean? And then after you watched him for a while, you're like, kind of took a little book from John Jones, except John Jones could obviously strike a lot better. So I know I don't see it, and he's just. I think about it now. You telling me about it, a picture in my head. He's just a funky thrower.
Yeah. Do you think your power ultimately is going to be the difference here? Do you think you're going to stun him, maybe get him out of here? Like, what's your ultimate prediction in this fight?
I think my ultimate prediction in this fight is kind of wear him down. You know what I mean? Third or fourth round, stop him. Best case scenario of decision. I just think you look at the Jeremy Stevens fight. Look at who Jeremy Stevens fought. You know what I mean? Jeremy Stevens was 10 times bigger than me, and he got one shot off me that cut me. Besides that, I was fucking like a ghost to him. I was tearing him apart with the body, with the head, moving my head, and throwing combos in there that he was like, "What the fuck?" And again, he got lucky, and everybody can get lucky once in a while. So that's what it is. I think Kai thinks he has the answer for this fight, but he really doesn't.
So you wear him down and ultimately finish him late. Is that what you think?
Yeah. I think he's again, his biggest attribute is comes in good shape. So someone like that, you got to wear him down.
Okay. I've never been to a BKFC event in person, so I got to change that, man. I got to make it to one of these events.
Coming out in Billings, Montana, right?
I wish I could, bro. I wish I could, man. In the East Coast, if they come to the East Coast, I will be there. I can
Billy,
guarantee you
Billy,
that.
they have.
Okay, let's do it. As far as like the fan base goes, what is it like versus a UFC event? Is it a little bit more? Is it different?
It is different. I think it's dependent on where you're at too. You get more of that boxing fan base than MMA fan base, so it's a little bit different. But I feel like anybody that's ever watched a BKFC streaming it or in person, they kind of get hooked afterwards because it's very entertaining, especially high pace, high 5 2 minute rounds, just 2 minutes, but it's high intensity, high pace, and like nonstop. And the fights go quick. It's not like you're there. A pay per view starts at 10 o'clock and it's not finished until 1:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? It goes quick, those fights, and you never know what's gonna happen.
And that's what I love about it too, because it's the pacing is way better than the UFC where they drag it out so long. And here on the East Coast, as you can relate, some of these pay-per-view events are getting over at 1:30 in the morning, and I want to be in bed far before then.
I know, especially wait till you have your kid. You're gonna be like, fuck this, I'm going to bed.
Yeah,
I'll watch the morning.
yeah, exactly. That I've done that numerous times, and I don't even have kids yet. So I'm gonna be that dad whenever it does happen, man. Before we get you out of here, bro, let me just ask you what your thoughts are on the UFC bantamweight division right now. Obviously, Marab is the new champ, dethroned O'Malley. Do you think Umar is the guy to maybe beat Marab, or do you feel like Marab is going to hang on to this for a little while?
Styles make fights. It should be interesting. Marab is not the best fighter, but what he has that wins fights 9 out of 10 times is that gas tank. That motherfucker doesn't stop. You know what I mean? I didn't see him beating O'Malley. I don't even know how O'Malley thought he was going to win that fight. I honestly think he gives Sterling a hard time in the training room. To be honest with you, just because his cardio is nonstop. I think Sterling's like, "Yo, Marab, let's go. You got to get me what I do to Hula. You got to get me in shape, man. Let's go. Let's go do this." Um, is he going to stop him? No, I don't think it's going to be the most exciting fight though, because it's wrestler versus wrestler kind of thing. And I don't know who's the better wrestler. And when it comes to striking, I don't know who's the better striker, man, to be honest with you. So it's quite interesting how the bantamweight divisions took in a turn. I don't even know as a promotion if they like the turn. They like the O'Malley in there. Obviously, they like to push O'Malley. You saw Aldo come back and sign a new deal, which was surprising. Um, and again, I don't know if Aldo is going to do 35 again or he's going to go back up to 45. I still can't believe he dropped to 35 and fought. So I don't really know where the division's kind of going now. It's kind of like I think it's just up in the fucking air where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see what does happen here moving forward. One last
When's
thing I wanted,
that fight with them?
they haven't announced it yet.
Okay, but that's the fight they're making, right?
That's what I keep hearing. It's Marab Umar.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. Yeah. What was your thoughts on Taporia doing what he did to Max, man? I'm
You
still
know,
trying to process it.
no idea. I didn't think he would finish him. That's a bad motherfucker right there. I want to see him against a couple other guys in the division before I say, he's fucking, the next generation. But him stopping Max, who I've never seen stopped, was unbelievable. I got to give him credit. I'm very interested in seeing him fight a couple other top guys. Has he fought? What's his name again? Oh my god,
Volk?
dude,
Well, he beat Volk.
not Volkanovski. Yeah, I couldn't believe he beat Volk too.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they ever? I ever talked about doing that rematch with him?
That's what's next.
That makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
that makes sense doing the rematch with him. Why can't I think of his name? Brian Ortega. That's why.
Ortega. Yeah, he
Yeah,
hasn't fought in Ortega. He hasn't fought Diego Lopez.
yeah. I want to see him against a couple other guys. Like obviously the Volkanovski match makes sense. You know, he was the champ for such a longest time. That makes sense. But after that fight, if he wins that fight, I would like to see him up against a couple other people. And I think you got the next kind of Khabib. You know what I mean? Reign. Next Aldo Reign. You know what I mean? You had the next Dominic Cruz reign, you could say, Demetrius
Yeah.
Johnson. I think, he's the guy for 45 right now. Just
Yeah.
just believable what he's done in the past two fights.
Scary. It's scary what he did to Max. If Max would have won, I had a parlay that if Max won, I would have made a lot of money, but it didn't happen. So,
He
uh,
fucked up your plans.
yeah, he sure did, man. Jimmie, always great talking to you, man. Best of skill come fight night. Again, November the 9th is when it all goes down. Before we do sign off, bro, I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank, floor is yours.
Yeah, man. I just want to thank obviously my family, my wife, my kids supporting me. Want to thank Tiger Showman's, my coaches there, my students, Julio and Juan and Brian. Thanks for, obviously the work. Thank you to my police department I work for, especially my chief who understands the sport and helps me out a lot to be able to do what I love to do. And thank you to the fans. Obviously, if they weren't here, we wouldn't be doing this.